Hooked on Stripers. Today, I'm going to go through what's in my plug bag for 2026 and give you guys some ideas on what techniques I use and what's been successful for me over the last couple of years. Um, I do have a style of fishing, and I'm sure you guys can get a lot of good information from this video. And especially if you're beginners on surf casting, you want to save some money and just know what works, this would be a great video for you guys. All right, first off, I'm going to start with my plug bag or my belt. And I just got an ODM surf wave belt, and what I carry on it is I try to minimalize it as much as possible. So I just do keep a pair of these Danko pliers for around 50 bucks. They are a great pair. This is my second pair, but I believe I lost the first ones. Just a really good pair of pliers. The only thing I do complain about them is that these screws come loose, and these can often kick out to the side, and they're just not going to work to cut your line. So you do have to go back with an Allen key and fix that. I have this little slide that has a clamp on it, and I usually just hang my fish pliers from them. You don't always need these when fishing for striped bass, but if you do get into some bluefish, or if you're using plugs that have multiple hooks or two treble hooks, or anything that could swing around and put the extra hook into your pants or waders, it doesn't take much to poke a hole into your waders. And when you're sitting there with a wet sock in the middle of April, you're going to be wishing that you took a little bit more care and effort into not doing that. I carry also this paintball tube. Carry whatever eels, rigged eels of that sort I put in here, so I don't have to leave the wet eels on top of my plugs. Leader bag. Most of the time now I'm tying FG knots. Rarely do I use barrel swivels anymore, so I just keep some leader here, and usually have a couple clips in here. I gotta load some up, but it's just a great way to just have it nice and organized. Helps out a lot. And then I carry, for my main, what I keep all my plugs in, I got one tube bag where I keep, I feel like this is enough for me. I do have an extra tube that I could throw on top or strap onto the belt if I feel I really need it. And I feel like this is enough, because then when I open this, I have all my jigs in here, but it's still plenty of place. Plenty of room to put extra plugs, especially minnow plugs like this. The needlefish, I got a daughter in here, a redfin back here. So this just works out to be, just a really good, for me over time. This is what I've kind of leaned towards. And now, what do I have in my plug bag? Okay, first off, I'm going to start with these guys. Little Bucktails. Now, the reason why I have these, and I've made some of these rather than just having regular bucktails, I'll show you a couple of regular ones because I do obviously have them in here. Here I'd say is a regular sized 1.5 ounce bucktail. I've tied these all myself. You can get them online. I'll leave a link in the description below. Custom made bucktail jigs. But anyways, this is about the average size of a bucktail. I'd say it's about 4.5 inches. From the head to the top, the back of the hair. These are definitely smaller. Forget the trailers, just the hair themselves. It's just a smaller profile. Now, the reason why I started making these is because I had a lot of success with these. These are the 3.75 inch NLBNs, and if you do get their 1 ounce jig head, only the 1 ounce, because I could show you here. This is the half. The difference in the hook is big time. Now, this 1 ounce hook, I don't know what kind of hook it actually is, but this is an extremely strong hook. You could just see the design in it. It's just a stouter. It's got a thicker metal. And, I don't know why they don't use these in all of them, all the sizes. I guess it has something to do with the sizing. Not that these are bad hooks, but you could feel even just giving it a little, this is a much stouter hook. So for striped bass, if I hooked a big bass on a small lure like this with the 1 ounce with this hook, I feel confident in applying pressure on it. Only two colors I have, purple and green. Honestly, you don't even need the purple. It's just a little extra I've been using just the green the last year, and it works great. I mean, if there are fish around and you're not getting them to hit, but you're trying to see. It's a great way to just probe to see if there are fish actually there, because even the small little fish that may not hit the bigger plugs, they'll hit this, and it's just a way of searching the area and giving you, letting you know what's going on. I definitely hooked up on fish when other people were not, and I were throwing this, and they were throwing full size bucktails. All right, keep a 5-inch NLBN in here. Just a classic half-ounce head, great for all around, shallow type of waters, especially in the early season. I'm probing a lot of back bays, slower currents, more shallow water areas like that. So I do need things that I can work slowly without dragging along the bottom. When I'm fishing inlets and jetties and currents and rips, then I pack a completely different bag. But this is an early season, a basic surf casting bag from the surf, things like that. You're not fishing really deep water. Just, let's say 3 to 10 feet. Okay. This is my upgraded, souped up 7-inch Blurple Redfin. I love this plug. I mean, it catches fish. It is one of my highest confident plugs I own. I'm not a big fan of the SP Minnows. I won't say that they're bad, because they're not. They definitely do catch fish, and a lot of people do like them. It's just other reasons, I'm not going to really get into, because they don't really make good enough sense for me to tell you not to use them. I'm just showing you something that I have a lot of success with. Now, what I do with this plug in particular is, you could see I have 2 split rings, and that is to allow, if you only had one and a fish tried to torque this on you, see, you're getting, let's see, loosen them a little bit. You'll get a couple of good spins in either direction. So if the fish tries to spin on you or twist, he's not going to come on, torque the thing completely out of his mouth. It just gives you a little extra confidence, rather than having one split ring where, it becomes much easier for them to pop this out of their mouth by leaning their body against it. I do take off the back hook and I replace it. It's just a shank with some lead wrapped around it and tied up and glued, and it's meant to have the same weight as this. So, not that you need it for the action, I just feel like the castability is much better. Because when you take that back weight off, this little back weight does help rear the end of this bait in the right direction. And, just for my own mind, I didn't want to change the action of the original way it was designed. So this is another way you can go about doing it, but still maintain just a single hook in the belly that I have come to definitely learn and love when fishing for striped bass. I mean, people are afraid you got less than... you don't have a hook in the back, so you're going to lose more fish, but that's not really true at all. When a striped bass eats this, it sucks this whole thing right in, right? With the one hook on the way out, you're getting them, and now, when the fish is fighting, and he's stuck on that hook, and that other hook grabs him, like let's say here, now he could pop it out like that. So it just makes it so you have more confidence when they're hooked that they're not going to come unbuttoned. And of course, you guys could see I do use the BKK hooks. That's a whole entire section I'm going to get into, because that really deserves a video upon itself. I mean, these BKK hooks are probably one of the single best upgrades I've made to my fishing equipment ever. It's probably the one single best thing you could do for yourself. I cannot tell you how many times I've hooked fish in the past, especially with the, even the mustads. It's not even an option, a thing about bending them out. Yes, the VMCs will bend out compared to these. But besides that, it's the hookup ratio. The way this point of this hook is designed, how long the actual hook is, the surface area. So it goes from thin to thick, and it gives it an easier time for those hooks to penetrate. And they're filed completely 360 degrees. If you look at a VMC, it's done on the sides and the top. So it does have sides and a top, rather than this doesn't. It has one continuous cylindrical shape. And that just helps slide right into the fish's mouth so much easier. little barbs, and these things are not bending out. I've had plenty of VMCs bend out, and I'm sure everybody knows the stories about that, okay? So that's, you'll see that common theme on most of my plugs. I do have the Viper 41 BKKs. You know, when a fish grabs it, and I set that hook, when I have like a mustad on, you know, there's so many times where you'll be reeling them in, and then poop, they just pop off. I've noticed 90% of the time when they're hooked on one of these hooks, especially just a single belly, and you set that and you really punch that hook into them, you get far, far, far few occurrences where they just pop off mid-fight. That does not happen as much. All right. We got the Daughter, of course, classic black and gold. I do have a rear hook on this. Now, the reason is there are times in the spring when big blues are around. And when big bluefish are around and they're snapping at the back of your plug and you're missing them, it is nice to have at least something that, you know, you could throw in that situation. Super Strike Needlefish, just a classic. Love this thing. Have a tremendous amount of confidence in it. It catches for me, and it casts so good. It swims so good. These things have really just become a huge, huge confidence plug for me because they just work. And especially in the springtime, I'm going to say a lot of my early fish do come on these. This is a great searching plug. It casts a mile. You could work it relatively slow without dragging on the bottom. And it just, I'm telling you, if there are fish around and they're feeding and this thing swims by, they are most likely going to smash it. Great plug. This is something new I won at a raffle. I'm going to try out this year. It's a Tsunami minnow. I'm not exactly sure of the name of it, but it does come with these Saltex hooks, which I'm excited to try a little bit more and learn some more about those because it could be a better, not a better, but an alternative option to BKKs because they are expensive. And if you see, these do have that cylindrical, you know, shape when sharpening them. And I think that has a lot to do with the hook sliding in so well. Classic right here for me. The Ozori glider. Or the Twitch bait minnow, whatever you want to call it. Some stuff over here. Okay. Great plug. In the spring, I throw this and I work it. No action. Straight retrieve. As slow as possible. So that it does not drag on the bottom. Because you want, that's what I always try to do in the spring. I fish as slow as possible. So it's just not dragging because that's, you know, that's how I've seen, you know, a lot of people have different concepts on fishing for striped bass. For me, what's always worked is slow and steady, straight retrieves for the most part. Obviously, for the most part. These have been a great addition. I'm sure a lot of people have been using this type of soft plastic. We got the 13 and the 11 inch here, white and parrot. I use these big BKK hooks. I know they look big, but it helps with tracking them. And it's not even about worrying about it bending out. It just gives this bait, like this I think is a 14-aught. It just gives it plenty of room to slide down after you hook the fish and not destroy your bait, you know. And you know, these things have a beautiful action. I kind of fish them similar to how a glide bait, a saltwater glide bait. You know, it's just a straight, steady, slow retrieve, and you're just going to get this slide to slide little hunting action going with it. And they crush this. And this is, I throw the 13 mostly. I do have the 11 just to mess around in case, you know, just to see. Maybe I'm not getting hit on this. I'll throw that and see if something happens. All right. We got the classic 8-inch lime, 3/4 ounce, NLBN. I mean, this is just a classic. If you have one of these things will catch you some fish. They are great. This color, it's all you need. Don't get caught up in the minutia of all the other stuff. Just get yourself an 8-inch one of these. This is the only NLBN I fished for 2 years before I started getting into the 5-inch and the shrimps and the other stuff and these little guys. These little guys I just picked up this last season. All right. Now we're going to get into some of my custom things that I do for myself personally. And that's Bucktails. Bucktails, Bucktails, Bucktails. All right. Classic 1 ounce chartreuse or lime. I call this the Andrus lime. Pink trailer, one of my favorite color combinations. Multiple times I've had this catch when the white and red were not. All right. Been messing around, like I said, with some smaller bucktails. Got some 1/2 ounce. But we got this as like a small, thin profile, more akin to like a spearing, right? And then, you know, like as compared to these, he's going to be a little bit more puffy. So that's a great thing about bucktails. You can adjust the profile a little bit depending on the way you tie them. And I've been making my own custom trailers out of... it's a type of chamois cloth. It's just a cleaning cloth, but it is actually a real goat skin. So it's very thin. It has amazing action in the water, and you can make unlimited of these for about $3. All right. Classic, white, red tail, right? I mean, I'm telling you, more like 60% of my fish ever caught, more than that, are all caught on bucktails. These things just beautifully they do catch. Got a little mini stout 3/4 ounce, right? With the green top, red tail. I bought these on Temu. They are some type of little silicone fish lure, and I just been tying them on. I mean, I feel like trailers are kind of one of the more expensive things when it comes to bucktail fishing, and they could be quite expensive. And if you're losing jigs, you go through them quick. I just wanted a different alternative, so I've been messing around with some felt, right? These silicone. They have these cloth, and then these are kind of the originals, which would be like this. Just it's plastic, you know, fat cow. And this is just a jetty caster, cut down and retied. Great old school Andrus jetty caster. This is kind of a newer style I made. This is like a dirty white, a little bit of hackles, tiny bit of flash. Old school 1.5 ounce smiling bill. Old school, I believe it's a 2X mustad hook. I mean, these can bend out. Like if you get snagged and you try to pull your snag out, this is going to bend before the line snaps. These are just the old school style. But if you have the right amount of drag, there's no reason why these should bend out. You know, these bend out like a VMC bends out. You know, if you got too much drag and you apply too much pressure, they can and will bend, compared to other options, which I think are great, like this NLBN tuna hook they use. This thing is not bending out no matter what. Yes, your rod's going to break probably before this bends out. And when you're fishing some of these deep, fast-moving currents and you hook into 20, 30-pound fish, you know, that's when these types of issues are going to become present. You know, if you're hooked up to a 30-pounder in deep current, on this versus this, that could be a problem. You know, you have to be careful with this. This, you could not worry about it so much, and you will get them in if you just got the right setup and the proper size gear, as well as the heavy enough line for fishing those conditions. Okay. Now, okay, we do got 2 little more bucktails over here. Just like I said, it's about like a 5/8 ounce little guy. Right, this was one I had already showed you. And now we're going to move to the lures, the plugs, which for whatever reason people do find to be more sexier of an item, which I mean, I can understand. They are nice, they're fun to throw. All right, so what do we got here? Got my 7 3/4 inch needlefish, 1 3/4 ounce, I believe it is. Take the back hook off, replace it with a flag, single belly hook, Viper BKK 41 with 3/0 size, and great plug. Don't leave home without it. Got some new things on the list this year. Not these. These are some metal lips I have. I have this. This is because of these jointed metal lips have too much action in the current. You gotta work these very, very slow in calm surf. So you could work them slow because if you move them too fast, they just clack, 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 and it feels like too much action for what I'm trying to do. And took the back hook off, of course, and I just swim this around in the back bays at night. You know, when you know, of course, catching fish on metal lips is one of the most fun things to do. But sometimes if the fish are not around like that and they're just not blowing up, there are other tools that are going to be more effective at culling fish out. Another one of my lovely metal lips that I have a ton amount of confidence in. This is one of the OG. Oh man. Salty Degenerate. Apologize about that. Lost my train of thought for a second. Classic metal lip. I work this on top, slow roll, and just like a fun, great way to catch fish. On this, I do have both hooks, compared to a lot of my metal lips where I do not have both hooks, and I take off the rear hook and often replace it with a weight, like this one. You can see the difference. The two hooks versus the one hook with the weight. I do have the weight because I feel without the weight, the tail will kick up out of the water too much, and I don't like the way it swims. I do like it more horizontal shaped. Okay, these are just got a little joint in the back, and just great, especially when that big bait, big bunker is around. GRS, Gary Soldati, deep diving, bunker colored, giant pikey. Took the back off this. This is a specialty plug. This thing has the D for deep diver. This is specifically going to be used in inlets or deep rips and jetties. And just something I want to mess around with this year and try some more. These are kind of expensive. They're $70 and pretty hard to get. So just be a little careful about where you fish these and things of that nature. All right. I'm getting to the end here. I keep, this is just a Super Strike daughter. Sanded it down and repainted it black because it was blurple, but just got scratched over the years. And I bought a little airbrush from Temu, wanted to test it out. And I was happy the way it came. The chin did get a little watered up, but otherwise I feel like it's a great little tool to have. And just have a nice clean plug again. Again, this is a Super Strike Zigzag. Super Strike daughter. All right. This is a musky bait. I forget what it's called. I did buy it on Bass Pro Shop. Took off the rear hook. And this has really an amazing side-to-side glide, like a jointed glide bait. I want to incorporate more of the wide glide style glide baits, but they don't cast that great. So this one piece does cast way better than the jointed. So it's just something, it's a new wild card I'm kind of adding in for the season. We got my other redfin classic bone. If you're going to just have one, you could have the bone and throw it everywhere all the time. It's great. And you could see on this, instead of using a BKK 41, I do have the owner Stinger. I forget what it's called. It's a Stinger something with a number. Double jointed split rings. And, yes, custom weight in the back to even out for the missing rear hook. Now, I do have red fins without the rear hook, and they do cast extremely well. And also one thing to mention, these are all loaded. All loaded. With what, you may ask? Vegetable oil. The reason why, instead of birdshot, I don't like the clanking, and there is something about the oil that makes it buoyant. so it floats. Water that floats on the surface, essentially making these stay on the surface better while still be loading. So you get the best of both worlds. I do like to fish these as close to the surface as possible. At the end of the cast, they are going to dive a little bit, but if you get most of that slack out and you just get a slow retrieve working, they will come to the surface. And you know, just a different, you know, I guess this will swim closer to the surface or may have a little bit of a different action. But I do like to have that extra weight in the back. More for anything, it's not even for the action, it's just more for the castability, because these are very, very light lures to begin with. So once you load them, and they're just not as good casting as something like an SP Minnow. So just to give a little advantage in that department, it's just castability, I would say, for me anyways, when I think about it. And then these two guys have been added for this year. This is the Seal Cove, right? I believe it is Seal. I have to double check it, but Seal Cove Lures is just a new company that came out. I took off the rear hook. I tied this flag for it, put on the single belly. Okay, this thing swims great. I mean, and they have great prices for their lures. I think this was about $20, you know, and this thing really just has a great little wobbling action. And what I did notice about it, I mean, it doesn't really matter because at night you wouldn't see it, but being that the front was white and you know, the top's black, but when I was fishing it during the day, the front white part made it real easy for me to see, and I was able to really see how good the action on this plug really was. And then we have an Allen's Custom 3-ounce needle. Took off the rear. Double splits with a 2-watt BKK Viper 41. I opted for the 2-watt instead of 3-aught just to make it a little lighter, because this is a 3-ounce, so I was afraid it was going to sink a little too fast. But to be honest, I really haven't got a chance to actually see it swim too well yet, so I can't give you a great review on it yet. But it looks great, it casts great, and I love needlefish. They just work. Allen's Customs, I know, catch plugs, so it was just something I opted to buy this year. And then we're going to go over here. Just a couple of more metal lips I want to show you guys that some things that are pretty affordable. This is a Vinny's Custom. If you want to find his plugs, they're not that hard to find. You can find them in a lot of tackle shops throughout the Northeast, and he's at very fair prices, and the action on these things are amazing. They do catch fish. Oh, I remember the name of these plugs, just by the way. They're called Seal Harbor Lures. Great company. All right, here's another one of their plugs. Like I said, $20. You're not going to get this anywhere, and the action are great. This is the mid-diving Danny. I mean, they just look incredible, and they have really good craftsmanship for the amount of money you paid. I mean, at the end of the day, these are tools. We are using them to catch a fish, so we don't want to spend crazy amounts of money on plugs all the time if we don't have to. All right, like, you know, you can look at these are other GRS plugs I have. Medium diver and a deep diver, as you could see by the M and the D on the lips. These are $70 plugs. I mean, they do catch fish. They are tried and true, and they are tested, and as far as their design. But you know, they are expensive to fish, and they you know, it could be tough to lose things like that. All right. Now, one last section we'll go through is when I'm fishing inlets or deep jetties, which does incorporate a large amount of my fishing throughout the season, especially the last few years as the stocks have been really thin. You kind of got to go to these magnets, these structure magnets that will attract the fish if you want to have more consistency, because you know, just trying to find them randomly throughout the bay has not, you know, it's been tough these last couple of years, I do have to say. So 3-ounce. I try to tie a lot of my own bucktails too. Now, I know it's not for everybody, but I'm you know, I like to design and tinker. Just that's my personality. And you know, when you're doing a certain type of endeavor, if it's costing you a lot of money, why wouldn't you want to try to find the ways to, be a little bit more sensible about it? All right. Now, these is my new bullet style that I've been tying, right? Classic, my favorite classic combination color, the green with the pink, chartreuse and pink, right? This is technically lime and pink, but this would be just a great, simple profile, right? Just hair. I do have a bit of flash over here, but there are no extra hackles hanging out the back. It's just a really tight, clean presentation, right? And we do have, more like the blurple and the more fancier colors. Here's one that's been kind of heavily fished. It's got some hackles coming on the back. You could see the paint's all worn away, but they do catch. This does catch. Great color. I am a big fan of greens, especially in the waters I fish. The Northeast, the New York waters, the New Jersey waters are usually dark and stained, so it does help to have that green to stand out, I feel anyways. Purple is something I've been experimenting with. It's a great color for plugs, especially at night. I got to experiment with it more to see if it is better than using just a plain white. White seems to just be just fine. But, I like I said, I do like to experiment, try some new things, right? Over here, we got some 2-ounce classic size for the jetties, all around simple, just white hair. That's it on a head. Don't need much more than that, right? And then we do have some fancy other types of things you can do with your bucktails, like pink, different colors, nice hackles off the back. Do you need this? No. I do it because I enjoy it and it's fun for me. But you do not need to do that. Okay? Plastics. Alright. Any type of eel plastic. Long tail, thin tail, slender profile. Long tail, thin tail, slender profile. Long tail, thin tail, slender profile. Slender profile with a paddle tail. Switch it up. Okay? Things that are very important to have. I can't tell you how great these things are. The NLBN, the straight tails, for jigging inlets or rips or heavy deep current, I love these. These get down into the strike zone because without the paddle tail, they cut right through the water. Amazing, great hook. They stay straight, true. They don't roll. And when bucktails are being thrown all day, every day at these fish, throwing something like this, a little bit more realistic, a little different profile, is often can be the ticket of you hooking up or these fish just becoming too used to what's being thrown at them and being too smart to take in it and falling for that same lure presentation over and over and over. And, once the season starts and fish start filing into certain areas, yes, they become easier to catch. But as the season stabilizes and goes on and they settle into place and routines, they become very quickly adapted to what's being thrown at them. And, often you do need to change up a little bit in order to get these fish to commit and bite sometimes. A lot of times people think the fish aren't there. No, it's not that they're not there. It's just that they're not eating what you're throwing at them. All right, guys. So that's what's in my plug bag for 2026. And I hope you guys get out there and you crush it. And everybody does great this year. And I hope to see you. Please subscribe, get involved. I'm going to be setting up my new classes soon and just offering you guys a ton of great information like this. If you guys want to get out there and catch your first striped bass or just learn how to be more efficient when you're going out there, so when you actually going out, you're catching, it's not just knowing what lures to throw, it's knowing where to go, knowing what conditions and where to go when, depending on the conditions. And all that we're going to learn coming up. So subscribe and stay tuned for more.